Nice to meet you all. Hi, Sheila. This is Francis Phiri, Phiri, from Zambia, deaf leader.
Well, we can give you a brief recap of what we've been discussing, if that would be helpful.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be really good, yeah.
They're information absorbers.
Can I just say for a second about...
Yeah, please.
So Francis was able to come to America and through scholarships and grant, and he just won the award of Teacher of the Year down in Palo Alto at the middle school that he works at. And the Zambian government was so impressed with his leadership skills that they gave him a plot of land to build a village. And so that's why he wants to learn from all of you about creating a deaf community for the deaf, because they are the most underserved and they do not have, the services and the things. So they want to build a hospital, wellness center, a school, and the Zambian government is providing them the land, and they've got an architectural firm that's giving them the architectural support, so they would really like the input. So that's the gist of it. And we're just doing a basic tour overview, introduction, and hopefully we'll have more later to talk to them about. So thank you.
Wow. Thanks everybody, and thank you for the introduction, Christy. So I want to thank you all for your time. I'm sorry that we're interrupting maybe at not the best time. I'm Francis, and I moved here 10 years ago. I had no English skills. I didn't know American Sign Language. I only knew languages from Zambia. But once I came to America from a very tough, poor, homeless, at times living on the street, and poverty and deaths in my family from malaria. But what happened is that, so I wonder if I had been a deaf woman, it would have been a different story, because women and how they're treated, especially deaf women, back where I come from, they're not treated very well. And many deaf people don't know language, their own language of their family, because they don't, the family doesn't learn sign language. Mm-hmm. So there was a Peace Corps volunteer, a deaf guy from America, who came to Africa and met me. His name is Frank. We call him Goodheart in sign language, Goodheart. And Frank Lester noticed something different about me as a student leader in the high school there in Zambia. He saw that I could succeed, but he saw that the Zambian hearing people who didn't sign did not think I could succeed, and my hearing family members did not think I could succeed, even though I knew I could. So Frank was an American deaf guy who saw my potential and said, wow, look at this guy. He could really succeed if I could help him get an education from this ugly life in Zambia to America, even though he doesn't know English and doesn't know American Sign Language yet. But I picked up those languages quickly, and then I have been teaching high school actually in Menlo Park. And so as my life has been able to settle down, I've been really worried about my friends back home and how many deaf people in Africa and Zambia are suffering. So it's been hard for me to relax and enjoy my American life without having something like this organization that I helped start called Give Back to the Community in Zambia, GBCZ, because I felt that I got a lot from my country and I want to give back to my country. So I went back last year for the first time, and we had a leadership training for deaf leaders in the country of Zambia to gather, to educate, to train, to talk about issues of mental health, wellness. And then at this national conference, we started talking about how can we help our dear friends and community throughout the country of Zambia who are sick and dying. They don't understand how to take care of themselves. They didn't get all this information in sign language. So the government saw my work, the Zambian government saw my NGO, and so they wanted to partner with me and help deaf and hard of hearing people in the country of Zambia. So they asked what I needed, and I said what we need is land, and we wanted to start a school and just start from 1 to 7 what? We were going to start already have 1 to 7.
So
age is 1.
Sheila.
Just a second. So we had grades 1 to 7, first grade to 7th grade at this school so far.
Can I say something, please?
Yes, yes.
I just want to say thank you. You are amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. And remember, I recognize you as change makers and all that you've done. And I'm just trying to learn from you. And I know that all the hours you probably have spent to meet, and you're here because you believe in what can be done and in the dream of what is possible.
Now,
So I appreciate your time and all that you're doing.
tell me your responsibilities.
So I oversee the strategic plans of the organization and specifically the equity initiatives focused on racial equity. So, and doing community engagements. So I'm here to check in with the community on a town hall we had a couple months back to see follow-up and how to re-engage the community with follow-up so that they know that it was not a one-time episode, to build an ongoing relationship.
And Felicia here, she keeps my thinking honest. You know, she is helping me out, helping Isoji, our group. In various strategic ways, you know, helping. And introduce the rest of Alberta is the head of a multidisciplinary team. Alberta, tell what the disciplinary team does.
Okay, multidisciplinary team, it coordinates bringing all the service programs together to meet so we can develop a plan to work with our children and our families and our elders in a systemic way. So we can provide wraparound services to families. And so our services are not fragmented, that there's a cohesive way of service delivery. So we all meet monthly in order to do that, and then have small working groups so that we can develop a work plan to support our children and families.
I briefly mentioned the family functioning scale.
Oh, we have
Briefly mention the family what?
functioning scale.
Scale.
Measuring.
It's a tool that we have that we use to measure how our families are functioning in different areas across the scale, like if they're in crisis, in working with families across, if they need shelter, recreation, substance abuse, adult education, children's education, health needs, parenting.
And we really like.
That's amazing to see it all in one page. That's like my math just fell to the floor. All in one page, I'm already inspired. That's going to save me a lot of time. Save you a lot of time.
And we
I'm here to just learn and be a sponge. That's amazing. Please keep.
and I just want to add to this, one thing we really like about this scale is that it gives the person we're working with an opportunity to self-assess, to look at this too, and decide where they're doing well and where they still would like to improve. So it's a good tool for practitioners and clinicians to plot the progress of the person. But my favorite thing about it is that it lends itself to self-assessment, where people are part of the process. Instead of having people talk about them, they're also participating in their own well-being and their own. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. That makes a lot of sense.
And in their self-assessment, we're meeting them where they are. It's not, we might get a referral that says this person is having trouble with substance abuse. Well, yes, but they're unemployed and they're about to be kicked out of their home, or, you know, their child has some kind of physical problem. And it's, we do this assessment, then we can then see, oh, this is what's going on with them, and so we intervene in that, and very often then it can shift the identified problems they were referred for.
And that's Eleanor. She's my partner. You know, she keeps me straight too. But then she takes care of the technical stuff, and she takes care of the emotional stuff.
She's the mama bear.
Oh, okay, and Cynthia.
Hi. Okay, my name is Cynthia. I work for Center for Domestic Peace. It's a local organization here in Marin County that works with domestic violence for families, children, individuals. And we have different support services, support groups, housing, shelter, whatever they need to feel safe again.
Awesome. Beautiful.
You can see how complicated, you know, communities are. We have all these individual talents and all these issues.
Well, I think they're complicated.
But we're managing.
But you're making, you're making it work
We're
because
gonna bring
you're,
them
you
together
got the
where they make
team.
sense.
Yeah, because you got the
We'll
team.
give him the scale
My name
to
is
take
Barbara,
home.
and I'm just visiting from Nevada. I'm a friend of Cynthia's. We work together.
Oh, wow.
You know, just in case.
Cynthia is you? Cynthia is you, okay.
So he would probably like your card if you have it, because they're doing a whole domestic violence thing, if you don't mind
Yes, I
talking.
do have one. I'll get it. It's in the car.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That'd be awesome, yeah. That's one of my pet projects at the moment is DV, domestic violence, and I'm working with a woman that Sheila, the interpreter, introduced me to that helped introduce this in America. She helped deaf women in America. So Sheila introduced me to this deaf leader, and she's helping me with developing a plan for Zambia.
Sheila, remind me to give him a list of the services that they do here before you leave. Felicia?
Well, actually, Beth, you were going to, you didn't talk about your work. Tobacco.
Oh well, that's because I'm retired. I'm doing volunteer work now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm doing volunteer work in Marin City. I just turned 70 and I've retired.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But I'm still doing volunteer work, and I was saying to Alberta, we should, if you're interested, we should give you this family functioning scale to take with you.
That'd be awesome.
And to adapt
love that.
however you want to for
any
your
information
community.
you could share would be awesome. Very helpful. Right now, the good thing for me is that my organization is starting from scratch, so we're right at that point of wanting to learn from everybody and get everything we can get our hands on, and we're sort of starting fresh. We're kind of a clean slate. That's kind of where we are. So, from what Ricardo was saying, he wanted to give to me, and I wanted to be able to do what you're doing, but I can't do it alone. But now I see how a team looks and how well you're working together. And I know together we can all do a lot.
That's a great place to be, starting from scratch.
Good place.
Plus, he has, they are setting up a model, a template, so once they build this village, they want it to be duplicatable. And when he was in Zambia and organized the 45 deaf leaders all to come together, he made the front page of the paper, the national. So it's like he's nationally known. He's starting to become a real, true global leader. And so these villages can be duplicated. So we really want to know what you're doing, what you found doesn't work, what you found works. And if we were to design a template or a model that could then be placed in Zambia as a showcase situation, then it could be easily duplicated all over.
The state of California has this large office, the Office of Health Equity,
Address. So we get a
part
credit
of
card.
public health, and you know California
Good idea.
is the sixth largest economy in the world,
Tobacco is-
and the Office of Health Equity thought we were an example
that
of
too.
how
I mean,
a
to
community can develop models, or should I use this word, paradigm? Yeah. Okay,
Why not?
I shut it up. You know that to be an example of how small communities, can develop its internal organization, what I call infrastructure. And we'll talk more about infrastructure a little bit later, and how that infrastructure can work towards alleviating silos, getting people out of the silos, and work as a holistic wraparound community and whatnot, and be a model for that type of community operations.
Fabulous. Yeah.
I'm just going to ask a logistical question. Can we have your email address so we can send you this
that'd be
information
great.
electronically
Yeah.
rather
definitely.
than this copy?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
Felicia, you have something to add?
So I wanted to give an insight into this meeting and what we've been talking about today so far. So as Jenny mentioned, she's from Health and Human Services, and in February they had a town hall here. And so Jenny is now here to follow up on what that was, and on how the county has responded to some of the knowledge that came out of the community during the town hall. So that's been part of the discussion here today. And I was, in the absence of the normal note taker, I was taking notes. So I'm glancing at them. I can give you details about what Jenny was saying, or some of the other people today, but I would say that the broad strokes are that Alberta was discussing how in the past there was a time when there was a greater number or a more robust wraparound services for the community for their overall health on a more regular basis for Marin City. And to a certain extent, that is not as much the case today, and wanting to get back to that, wanting to bring those services more together, to be in the same room on a more regular basis, to have much greater interaction between the service providers and the community members, to build more trust between the service providers and the community. And so, as feedback to Jenny and Health and Human Services as to where Alberta and others would like to see the community to get to, and what would be helpful for the community. And then I was making the observation that I've heard in a lot of different meeting settings, whether it's environmentalists or whether it's social justice people or whether it's economic development people, a refrain repeatedly over years, which is, it would be really helpful if we knew who was doing what. And so that's a nut to crack. That's not just about Marin City and here, or Marin County. I think it's potentially global, and I think that's the reason that the United Nations developed the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that even at the super hyper local level of Marin City, with regard to the bringing people together and knowing who is doing what now, with the help of technology, that right now the purpose of technology is largely profit. So how can we get those systems, those technological systems, to sort of siphon off some of their incredible robust technology to us here in Marin City, etc., so that Marin City can meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Number 1, no poverty. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being for all. by 2030. Like, is that possible? And what would that look like? And how can that model of the 17 global goals be like here and serve that purpose that is Alberta's vision of both what has happened in the past and what could happen again. And Jenny talking about, I feel like you had talked about some things too about wanting sort of, like with the economic development piece, and knowing that this department has their jobs program, and this department has their jobs program, and they're not necessarily working together. Multiply that by.
Do we have the sustainability goals online?
Online, yeah. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals are online.
Tell them about the resource that we have online right now.
So we have a tiny baby resource on the ISOGI website, where I've started to list the goals on isogi.net and just started to plug in some very brief facts about Marin City that I've been able to dig out of this list of like 26 PDF reports that I've researched and found online, where I can, here and there, I find something specific about Marin City, and then I plug it in on the ISOGI website on the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal page, to start to build a picture using that rubric of the Sustainable Development Goals. But it's in elementary stages, and it's about, I've done that for about 5 or 6 goals. So it's very much under development at the moment.
Okay, also, we have listed, talking about the resource directory, listing all the organizations within the community.
Yeah, so on the ISOGI website, we've put together a list that I think Juanita is planning to help sort of edit and look at and make sure we've got organizations categorized correctly, their phone numbers, their contact information. And then there's also a community calendar. And so right now, I just yesterday scheduled a meeting with somebody with Mara Lisa to help create a Facebook page for the ISOGI website to help, now that we have the website that's basically built, then get people to use it, to reference the community calendar, to put their events into it, because you can build a website, but unless you market it and go where people are already, it's just going to sit there. Yep. So that's the phase we're moving into now.
And then
are you guys familiar with OneDegree.com? Because OneDegree.com has Marin City services listed in terms of housing, health, wellness, education, all the different components.
Wow.
And my niece works for them. It's One Degree, and it's a simple app that anyone can download, and then if they need food, they can click on the food part, and it takes them to all food resources. If they need housing, they click on the housing part, and like when it's tax time, they send out where you can get free tax service, tax help. So
I'll check it out and compare it for sure.
Like for example, in your village, if you get the village done, you're going to have a number of programs, services, operations, operation things. At the end of our database day, we will have listed all the services, programs, operation, and special projects that are in the community. It serves a lot of several key purposes. It allows everybody to see what is in the community. It allows us to develop a tracking mechanism, so we can see who's progressing and who's not progressing. It allows us to, to assign equity values to the whole of the system, to see if the community is growing, to see if your village is growing, and where are the essential needs, and it happens more in real time because you can jump right in and solve problems. You can't do that when you have a lot of silos. Now, there's a word that we use, and it's coming in popularity. It's called intersectionality. And one of those words, But anyway, it's going to grow in meaning because I see more people using it, and it's how different sectors of the community connect together, how programs and services within certain sectors connect with programs and services in other sectors and whatnot. Got anything to add to that, baby?
Well, I mean, what Ricardo is talking about is the vision, is what we would like to see, is to be able to in my language of systems thinking, help the system become conscious of itself. What I keep saying to Ricardo is that picture of that database that you're describing is so different from the way things happen today that it's going to require a lot of work to get there, a lot of concerted retraining, not only what we do and how we interact with technology, but how we think to actually get to that place. But I do believe that we do need to get to that place to create a sustainable society, whether we're talking about the environment
a healthy,
or
sustainable society.
yeah,
Well,
So just-
historically, that is the way we survived.
yeah.
You know, particularly we people of color, really. If we didn't work interconnectedly, we would
Yep.
not be here.
Well, we didn't mean to. Yeah, I want to thank you for entertaining, this interaction, like that. And I know that.
I just want to add. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to add on to go back to the referral map. I mean, the list of resources, and also Jenny has said while you were gone, I asked if we could have something in writing that that Cesar was going to give us, but we don't have yet, of all the county programs that are working in Marin City and what they're providing. And she said yes, so I think that would be great to add to the
Yeah,
Totally.
definitely.
We
definitely,
need-
definitely.
Grant was going to send that to us when we met with him forever ago.
We have, yeah, so I have that, and then like I said, it was supposed to be reflected in the presentation, but I'll cross-reference and see what else I presented.
Yeah,
and
and
I need to get going because I actually should have been at 2
Well,
o'clock
me
meeting.
too. Yeah.
But second too is so I'll provide that. As far as the feedback session, the jobs one, how do we communicate out what follow up do you guys want us to do, and then what would that look like, based on what you guys are thinking about for us to come back. Like I said, when we were thinking end of summer,
Yes,
but that
great
doesn't
question.
work. But so basically, what would that look like, and what do you want us to present on? We're gonna give you the response that we had based on that meeting. But what are the other things? Like I can take back the social services request to our social services director about having more of that interaction. But I would say is tell me what would that look like? How what is it you want us to come back? What would that look like? Do you want the same structure in the church? Do you want just tell us now? Maybe you can work. I don't know if Cesar's going to work on it, but let me know how you'd want that to look.
And can what you've just told us in here, can that be sent out in writing as well?
Yeah.
About what's
the idea?
What your thinking is, and what the county's thinking is now about next steps, and what you can, like Alberta said, what you need from us to make that easier for you.
Yeah, and then so for example, I gave the jobs update about this task force that got together.
that was
that
very
one. So so how do you want that communicated out? And so
Great question.
and how do you want to be updated on that? And so like I said, that was just one meeting. It's directly out of the town hall. So they met once. They're going to meet in 6 weeks. It's something that has the administrator support. So how do you want us to report back on that?
Contrast. Does Canal have the same issue?
Yeah, I've got to go.
So I did say that we
I
had
have I'm just
we had a
waiting for
town
her
hall
to-
with Canal, with David Escobar, like
Yeah,
the
she
multicultural
has
center in Marin. It was through them because Douglas was at the Marin City one saying, okay, what about we need to do something as well for Canal, and we're actually going to different areas all across the county. So West Marin, Novato, and then Canal. And that was like 100 people. They did a lot of great outreach. I mean, it was set up to the way that they wanted. So there was music before. It was a little festive. They had a raffle after. So it was very culturally responsive. So they're typing up the recommendations, and they have some work groups that they're going to propose. So I'm saying if there can be an alignment there. Theirs was a lot on public safety, and obviously affordable housing, but just the conditions of the homes, that kind of thing, and then access to services, clinical services. So
That's what also the themes that you're going to find in West Marin and the Canal and here, because there'll be some themes that will overlap, because we find that when we do come together across the different communities, we find that there's certain things that we all are having, like as you said, housing is one, service delivery, certain things that are happening.
Lack of money.
What?
Lack of money.
What? A lack of money. Okay.
yeah, so I can bring those back too. So they're typing that up because I just literally met with David yesterday to debrief as well, and so they're typing up the themes and the work groups they would like. They also have a whole strategy with how they're gonna go back to the specific county departments. So that's where we're at. So like I said, in the sense that, so tell me, like they have, that's how they were, what's gonna meet the needs of Marin City, and then like I said, I wanna tie it in as well to the other communities, because a lot of the black and brown issues are very similar.
That sounds great.
You write me a poem, I'll write you a poem. And why not? And a whole classroom.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I've seen classrooms like that picture over at the Y.
Yeah.
The classroom made a big picture. 10, 12 students made a huge picture. And they put a heart right in the middle of it.
And paintings.
It was a painting.
Different colors.
Yeah, with different colors. You couldn't take your eyes off of it. But it goes to the effort, the team, how a team can work together, not only in spirit and feelings, but also they can work together in the creation of something that can be appreciated or shared by others. And it becomes a value system. Art to me is a value system.
So every tribe has their own art. So when you come into the village, all the tribes.
What I'm saying is if you introduce the language of art, it may take away from the language of anger.
Beautiful. Beautifully stated.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Potential, of really creating that model. That I think I mentioned this before, and I just want to, bring it to a point where it has some visibility to everybody. Zambia, the state of California.
Well, you have no idea how much you've inspired me today, because I have a very clear hope. There's no question after what I saw today that I'm going to be able to do what you're explaining in Zambia. I don't think only Zambia. I think all of Africa, we are going to be doing a lot.
Yeah, you could have these little model communities, that have these senses of accountability and sustainability. And health. That's why I said, the wellness center, the wellness,
Sustainable. Accountability.
And the education piece. If you get the education
have a
piece.
system that's healthy that we can repeat.
And
So,
with
yes.
the new green initiatives,
New green.
there should be plenty of jobs for plenty of jobs. You get at a point now where you can get on the ground floor, and start drinking, start thinking. Everybody comes here, we're gonna be green thinking.
Coming to Zambia?
Yeah. Just like we need to be green thinking.
So I look forward to more conversation and more heartfelt sharing for all the people that we are serving and love. And Francis is thanking you all with the I love you. This is the I. This is the I, and there's the L, and then the Y is there. God bless. Thank you so much for dinner. Oh my gosh, what an inspiration. Seriously, Ricardo.
No, thank you for your
Thank you. Well, thank you.
That's exercise.
That's okay. I'm just glad to be connecting the right people to the right people, making the right things happen right now.
The key to what we have to do is we have to frame everything as works in progress with accountability indicators. We have to, we just say, everything that we do is a continuum. There's no stopping point.
I might get my head in
But there are benchmarks. There are indicators, performance indicators, that can be used to continue the work, make the work valuable. And I say that to say, we don't have a working model.
We are going to have a working
We
model
will have
design.
one. We got bits and pieces,
Right.
but nothing like I want to see.
Yeah. We'll get it.
It's complicated.
I know.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's sing.